Hi, I'm Jeffrey Pickette. Welcome to a special edition of Stoughton Spotlight. We're continuing our Conversations with the Candidates series, and we'll be interviewing the candidates for Selectmen and School Committee in the 2016 town election in Stoughton. The election will be held Tuesday, April 5th. So on this episode, I am joined by Peter Brown, who is going to be running a write-in campaign for the Board of Selectmen. Peter, you ran last year for the Board of Selectmen, and it was a close race, but were unsuccessful in that quest. You have since become the vice chairman of the Finance Committee, and then decided to pull papers this year, but didn't ultimately turn them back in. Then during the kind of campaign season, once that started getting underway, decided to run the write-in campaign. So we'll just start right off there. What was the decision behind the write-in campaign and trying? It's, you know, you could say it's an uphill battle because your name won't be on the ballot on election day.
Well, thank you, Jeff, first off, for having me here. It's a pleasure. You're doing great work, and I want to commend you for that.
Well, thank you.
That's $1 million question, how we arrived to the decision. To just give you a little history to kind of to support what you had said, I did run a campaign last year. I worked hard. I had a pretty good showing. I didn't win, obviously. In fact, I came in fourth out of the 4 candidates, but I had a high number, up close to around 900 votes. I worked hard and I gave my best shot, but it didn't happen, although I won 4 precincts. Actually, I beat the selectman that came in second in 4 precincts. So I had a pretty good showing throughout, but it just didn't happen for me. I decided I was going to run this coming year, and I pulled my paperwork out, but I had heard that there was going to be 4 people running. And with only 1 spot, I believed that was going to lead to a primary. So I didn't want to cost the town any extra money. I didn't think we need another election to get down to 1, to have the 3 candidates to eliminate 1. So, and in the same time, right around the same time, I got elected to the vice chair of FinCom. So I said, I'm not going to turn my paperwork in. I'll take the vice chair, which I was honored to get, and leave my paperwork off, let the 3 that were going to pursue selectmen this year, and whoever won, well, that would have been the case.
And only 2 ended up turning their papers in.
That's correct.
Right.
And of course, I didn't end up on the ballot, and then over several weeks, things have been different, and there's been a lot of things going on, and I decided, well, people had come to me and asked me if I'd be willing to run a write-in campaign, and it wasn't 1, it wasn't 2, it was a host of people, and it was a tough decision because, you know, I know it's a monumental task. And after giving it some careful consideration, I decided I'd take this, make this journey, I guess. So here's where we are, and I'm in the process of trying to get it off the ground now.
And so, as we mentioned, it's not quite as simple as somebody shows up on election day and you're one of the names that's printed on the ballot. They actually, a little bit more efforts, it takes a little bit more effort on the part of the voter to put you on the ballot and to vote for you. So just kind of explain that process and what you're doing to help that.
Okay, so I contacted the Secretary of State's office and I got some instructions, and the first thing you have to do is submit a letter to the clerk's office, which I will do today. I have a letter typed, and I'm going to go, actually from here I'm going to go there and I'll submit that. That gives her notice and gets
the town clerk.
The town clerk notice, who will put out that I am going to be a write-in candidate. And then what happens, you can do stickers, or people can actually write your name, but they'd have to have your name and your address because that's provided and has to be recorded under the correct heading of the ballot. So in this case, it has to fall under the heading of Board of Selectmen.
Right. If somebody voted for you in Redevelopment Authority, for example, that's not going to count as a vote for you as Board of Selectmen. No.
So we have to do a great job at getting out the information and providing clear instructions, which we will be doing over the next several weeks. I got the stickers now that will provide my name the way it appears on the voters list now with my address, which is 63 Chapman Road, and I will distribute cards that'll have peel-off stickers, and we'll have them available up to the election day and actually on the day of the election, and we'll distribute them as best we can. And people have been calling already and asking and spreading them around and want some to hand around. So if you have that sticker, and as long as you know to stick it under the right heading, which will also show an example prior to the election, I think we're going to do a penny save ad that shows a kind of an example of how you can do it if you want to stick your name in. And then as long as you're you got your letter turned in and they make an effort to put your name in, then that your vote should be considered for a valid vote.
So obviously, from the time that the deadline to turn your papers in to run for selectman and now, there's been a lot of things that have changed in the landscape of town politics, and namely the departure of Paul Shastany as police chief of Stoughton. Technically, his final day contractually is April 29th, the end of April.
Right.
But his last day was, as of filming, was March 5th.
4th?
Friday? For the
4th.
Friday the
Right.
4th.
Yes, yes.
So, correct, it was the 4th. And so I just want to get your thoughts on that whole situation, because it seems that, at least in social media circles, your candidacy is being closely tied in with the whole situation of the police chief departing, the battle with the town manager. Right. And so I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on where you stand on what's going on right now.
Well, to put any rumors to bed about me being this 4th vote, or I hear, social media has had some posts and things of this nature that I'm a 4th vote to get the town manager fired or whatever the case may be. First off, I would never conduct myself that way. I'm going into this for the best interests of Stoughton. This is not about Peter Brown. This is not about anybody else. This is about what I think is best for the town of Stoughton. Now, I will tell you, I am very disappointed that the chief of police is leaving. I thought we had a great leader. The man, from what I know, is above reproach. He's integrity-driven. He's done a great job in his leadership. He's done a fine job leading the men and women to prepare to be better police officers and things. So that did kind of help encourage me that maybe there needs to be a fresh eyes, set of eyes in there, and maybe offer a different perspective on things. So that's part of the reason why I jumped in, under this scenario, because we are losing a good chief, and we had lost a good DPW director there,
superintendent. Yeah,
and there seems to be a lot of talk, and I've talked to different employees and have heard from different people, not just all avenues, not just the police department, not just the fire department, of all over the place, and they're really not comfortable with the working environment. There seems to be some complaint that the work environment is not a healthy environment.
And so if the sentiment on Facebook is the 4th vote, you need to be the 4th vote, but you just said a couple of minutes ago that you're clear you're not necessarily going to be the 4th vote. So what is your position on the town manager and his right now, his performance and relationship with the other town departments?
Well, I think the town manager
and the Board of Selectmen itself, I should add.
Well, I do have some thoughts on that. I think the town manager was doing a decent job, but I think he's kind of lost a bit of his mission. I think that he has to understand that the Board of Selectmen are the highest authority. They're the elected officials. They provide the oversight, and in most cases, the direction. And they give the mission to the town manager, who then takes it and spreads it around through his department heads, and that's how he handles the daily operations. I think there has been a breakdown in the lines of communication between the Board of Selectmen and the town manager. And I'm not going to say it's more from one side or the other. I'd say they were equally responsible. So as far as the 4th vote goes, that would never be something I would even discuss unless all facts are on the table. I want to see everything on the table, see what's going on, see what the issues are from this side, see what the issues are here, because I haven't talked to the town manager. I don't know what his complaints are, or why he doesn't feel like he needs to provide various documents and things of this nature, or communication to the Board of Selectmen. But from what I can see, there seems to be a real strain in that relationship. So I think that's important to be noted. As far as you asked me about the 4th vote, it's hard to discuss that 4th vote, because people are going to think that I'm the 4th vote just because I'm Peter Brown and I may not align with their agenda, or I may not agree with what they're thinking, or maybe they have a like for this person and they don't have a like for that person, or they want this and they don't share that idea. That's not me. I approach things in a fair and balanced way. I like to believe, and I like to think my record supports, that I vet everything as carefully, and what, at the end, basically my decisions are usually and most often based upon what is in the best interest of all the people of Stoughton.
And so, fair to say, because the criticism of the write-in campaign has been, well, is this just a one-issue candidacy?
Right.
Do you care to address that?
Well, I think that's kind of unfair. First off, I think that I've gotten some calls and people ask me, "Oh, you're just going to be that fourth vote," or "I want you to be the fourth vote." Believe me, it's been a mix. It's been type of thing, and I don't want to get dragged into anybody's drama, anybody's issue. I know that there's some problems. I sit on the finance. I'm vice chair. I see some of the things that are going on. I hear some of the stories, people that I know, and I'm hearing things more and more as I'm out here now. People are more willing to talk to me about things. So, no, that's not my only concern. I'm running because I believe I bring a fresh, innovative perspective to things. I'm good at decision maker. I have no personal agendas or alignments or associations. I don't receive any pay from the town. I'm a resident only. I'm a volunteer in my regard, and I don't have any personal politics to work on. I'm not looking to gain anything. So I'm here specifically to do a duty and to bring professional and responsible leadership to the people. And I want the voters and the residents to know, including the stakeholders, that's everybody. I want to work with everybody. Leadership is a test of character, and it's sometimes not an easy role to be in. And a lot of people sometimes can't handle that, or they make bad decisions based on it because they feel pressure from one side or another. That's not my makeup. I'm pretty logical, and I like to think that I'm making decisions, again, based on all of us, and not on just any one particular group. There are certain people doing better than others in town, and there are people doing less and not as good as others. So we have to find that common ground and make decisions to advance our community as a collective good.
Well, there are plenty of other issues on this, to discuss this election season. And one of them, particularly, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts as a member of the Finance Committee, is right now the budget debate between adding more members or more staff to public safety. Specifically, before he departed, the police chief had requested 6 new police officers, and was only, was going to get less than that in the selectmen's version of the budget that was sent to FinCom. The fire department has long argued that they could, that they're understaffed and should be brought up to staffing that meets the needs of the town currently, not the town from the 1970s. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because it is a balancing game where you do have to find the money if you're going to fund these positions.
Well, I think, Jeff, that we'd all agree that there are, we're looking for the best services under any circumstance. But I think there are some things that are absolutely essential. And I would classify public safety as essential. And the other night when we were talking, and I was talking with the chief, one of the things I was trying to ascertain and get to the bottom of is there any real way for a chief or any of his people to predict when crime is going to be committed? And the answer to that is simply no. So you have to have adequate staffing on the street. And I'm just talking about the police right now, not the fire, but from a policing perspective, you have to have adequate staffing. Now, some will argue that 3 is enough, 6 not enough, 5 or whatever. I don't have those numbers. All I have belief in what the chief says, and if he thinks he needs 5, 6, 7 people on the street, I believe that because I have the utmost respect for him. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples that would worry me and have worried me, and I brought as a concern. Do you remember last October on Halloween when they had a suspicious package bag up at the high school, and it was treated as a bomb or a potential explosive device? They had every police officer they possibly could respond to the high school at that time, around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There were no police to patrol the rest of the town or answer calls. Not only did those police officers have to respond, and that may have been 4 or 5, whatever they had to pull guys in from off duty to come in, cover. They had that whole place locked down. They had other towns coming in, state police coming in. These are real issues. This was something that we have learned that you can't take for granted when you have a situation like that. The safety of the community is first and foremost.
So you would be in favor of
I am absolutely
adding
in
the
favor
6
of adding
positions?
more. 6 would be 6, yes. And I also understand we're in a situation now where we don't have a lot of money available to us. We have to prioritize. And if we have to make some cuts somewhere, then we got to make those cuts. Because I don't want our men and women on the street that are there to protect us in harm's way because they can't have backup. Now I'll give you another example. The officer involved shooting. When the criminal pulled the knife, the officer ended up discharging his weapon. Everybody had to respond to that incident. That was a big incident. What happens to the rest of the town? There's no patrol. And you can't say, well, we can just call people in, they can respond to that. These things happen in seconds. The old saying is when you need the police and they're minutes away, seconds count. So these are the types of things that I don't want to take for granted. I don't want our community to take for granted. I want people to realize that if there's a number that could be agreed upon, and I don't think 41 police officers is enough police officers to patrol, because you're talking 365 days a year, 24/7.
Well, is there a place that you would cut in order to, because you said if cuts need to be made, is there a place that you would?
I think we're in the process now because there's a 1.2 million shortfall in our current budget, and this has been coming at us for years now. Every year our budget has been increasing. This is one of the reasons. Main reason I ran last year was because I've been watching our budget balloon from year to year, and our capital projects on top of that has been building even higher. Now we have lots of ideas. We have lots of endeavors, projects. We want a new school. I support a new school. We need a new public safety building. Main reason behind that is because we now have lost the central dispatch. But to get back to what I would cut is we're in the process of vetting and looking at everything. I don't think anything should be off the table at this point, with the exception of you want to try to keep your public safety people, and we're trying to add people. You want to keep your schools intact, and you need to keep DPW. So where do you now have to look at? Maybe lower ends of the budget and upper management.
All right, so in terms of upper management, the town hall has expanded its central, I don't know if you want to call it central administrative staff, but certainly the town hall staff. Again, where are these cuts coming?
For me to say that, Jeff, now would be unfair to put a label on any one position, but I would say every position is on the table. And if there are positions in different agencies that may be a deputy to the deputy or something, then they have to be looked at. But we can't be cutting public safety, we can't be cutting water and trash services, we can't be cutting school staff if we can help it. But there got to be some areas that we can find some places. Now if we don't want to cut, do we want to raise revenue? Do we want to go back and ask the taxpayers to pay more? Every year we're asked to pay that 2.5, whatever that works out. And then fees seem to always increase. And there's a plan on the table now to raise our trash fees $7.50 more a quarter, and raise our water fees, and potentially raise our sewer fees and other fees. Now, you can get feed out eventually. So there are things we have to have a discussion. You can't just eliminate it because you don't want to touch this one, or this isn't popular, or this isn't the right thing, or this doesn't line up with this group. And that's where I think I bring a different perspective in. I have no line. Some people say, well, you want to hire police, that's automatic. Well, I want to hire firemen too. I want to have firefighters on there. These guys they're working shifts. Now, some will argue, well, they only work a couple of days, but they're on all day. Well, we have to have adequate staff. I've had the pleasure and unfortunate circumstance to deal with the ambulance on several occasions. My mother-in-law just passed away in February. The ambulance, the fire department come out there, top notch. They are nothing but professional. They're great caregivers. They do their job. They're understanding. They're compassionate. Oh, unbelievable. Now, there's occasion we can't have 2 ambulances on, or if we have one ambulance running, we need a second one. But wait a minute, we have to pull out the hook, the ladder truck. They can't ride the ambulance. Those are issues, Jeff. We can't have. This town's growing. It's big in size, anyways, and the people are growing. More places are coming in all the time. New buildings. They're building one across the. We have to have these services to respond to whatever the situation. And there's no way of telling when there's going to be a fire, when there's going to be a crime. So those, and then of course you have to, you talk about your DPW. You have to get trash picked up because that's a reflection on the community. You have to have good water. You have to have solid infrastructure. You have to have proper sewage. So you know there's a lot here I just threw at you.
Sure. Well, I'll just pick up, you said
Sure.
sewerage. One of the articles on the upcoming town meeting is not to build a Park Street sewer, and that's been a long discussed
Right.
issue, but it's to, I believe it's to put the money up to design, like to pay for the design of like the plan
Yeah.
of how a Park Street
You mean to
sewer would be
potentially have
implemented.
a Park Street
Exactly.
sewer?
So just you mentioned sewerage.
Yeah.
That's a part of town that doesn't have it. Park Street going from about Ash Street all the way to the Brockton line and wrapping around the Campanelli Industrial Park areas. Just again, your thoughts on a project like that.
Now this is a very interesting scenario because first off, I grew up with sewage where I grew up. Didn't have septic. I currently have septic. I have the ability to hook in, but there's just 3 of us in my family. We don't put out a lot. We paid for is it the betterment, the number. There have been people that opposed putting sewer down the street if they don't want it. And if they don't have any intention of hooking in, some people even take the position, well, I can't afford it to run it down the street because I can't afford it to have it come by my house. But then you'll have your argument, the other side of the table will say, well, we want it, we need it. Can you get it to us? There are some places, well, no, we can't. And then you mentioned Park Street. Now, I know Park Street was defeated. That was defeated on town floor.
Correct. And again,
years
this
ago.
article isn't to actually approve building
Yeah.
the sewer. It's to design
Right.
the plans for
Here
the
would
sewer.
here would be my opinion on that, and I'm ready to lock in on this. I would oppose it unless we can get commitment from businesses that are going to come down into that
Industrial
the
park,
industrial
yeah.
park and things that are committed to us, so they could maybe even share in some of the costs. And also the reason why is because to spend money on planning and not having anything to bring it to, because somebody had once said in the engineering department, not the current Mr. Tisdale, he's great, but the current the previous engineer said, well, we're gonna bring it down these streets, and then we're gonna recommend or force people to hook in. And I said, that doesn't even sound correct. Well, we're gonna offer them incentive. We're trying to go to the legislative, see if we can get a cheaper rate. I said, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't work for me because that's almost like the government forcing you to do something. So if people are opposed to bringing the sewer down the street, now I know it means more revenue for the town, but we have to take the people into consideration too. But if they're at the end of that line, we bring it into the industrial and the Campanelli and all, now there may be some bigger benefits and it isn't such an impact on the people that are living there, and maybe they don't even have to hook in. Because remember, if you have an active septic, you don't have to be part of that, right?
So another big issue, which you had mentioned in a previous response, was the high school building project.
Right.
And that will be something that coming to the town meeting floor for town meeting representatives to approve. And if they approve it, ultimately the residents of Stoughton will be asked to support a debt exclusion to fund the project. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, where it is a costly project, but it's something that you said a few moments ago that you would be supportive of.
Absolutely. We need a new high school. There's no doubt about it. I have a couple caveat to that. So, first off, this high school, the talk about has been in for a number of years. I would have liked to have been able to be in on the floor when we approved it so my daughter could have enjoyed it. She's never going to get that chance. However, that doesn't mean I still wouldn't support it. Debt exclusion is the only way financially I would be committed to that, because I would never support an override for something like that. Secondly, we have to get it so we're in a position. First, they've been doing a great job with the preparations and all, but we have to get ready to get this underway. And what I mean by that is, I don't know how much longer that we have. I know the process takes a while and it takes some time, but this would be a sizable project that I would say I have to remind people that it's a very big commitment, both money-wise and improvements, it's going to be great. There's where people have to start to take in consideration, though. So if we're paying on this side for, and this is not saying I'm opposing it, I do support it, but yet we have to take things into consideration because there are other things that people are talking about: repairing the armory, looking for a public safety building, new watershed, things like this. These are all things that we pay for at the end of the day. So I think we have to kind of slow down and maybe step back and address the high school and so forth. But one of the questions I want to get answered, and I asked, and I haven't been able to get, is I'd like to know what home values are worth prior to your high school and then after. And why I ask that is I'd like to know how other towns have benefited by this. So by bringing in their new high school, maybe their house was worth $300. Are they now worth $400 with the new high school? Because that's a question that anybody who owns a home wants to know what we're getting back for our investment. I know the kids needed a great high school, teachers, a great spirit up there, the whole 9 yards. I know that, and I support it. You went to that school. My daughter's in it now. My wife went to that school. It's time for a new school. There's no doubt about it. People say that, well, that'll bring new people to town. I'm not sure there's a heck of a lot of area to build left in this town. So I'm kind of confused on that. Sure. But for the record, I do support the new high school.
And with just about a minute and a half left in the show, half hour always goes by quickly, right? If a voter meets you at a campaign event, on the street, after a debate, whatnot, what do you want them to take away from that interaction?
Well, I want them to know that I'm going to work hard. I'm going to work honestly, transparent. I'll always be available. I happen to have a lot of time on my hands. I feel like they'll get honest answers from me. They'll never get something that will be told to them and then just, done behind their back. I will bring clear direction, good, strong communication, and prudent oversight. That's what you'll get out of me, and I will expect the same from whoever the town manager is, whether it be the town manager now or a new town manager. I think that they need to understand that working with the Board of Selectmen to make certain the residents feel like they're getting what they deserve is going to be paramount to us moving forward or advancing our, capital projects and all the good things that we've been working towards.
Well, Peter, thank you very much for joining me on this episode. Thanks for tuning in to our conversations with the candidates on Stoughton Spotlight. I'm Jeffrey Pickette, and please remember to vote on Tuesday, April 5th. It's the town election day in Stoughton, contested races for both selectmen and school committee, and now will be a write-in candidacy for the Board of Selectmen, making things all the more interesting on that end. Make sure you tune in for our other conversation with the candidates episode so you could hear from everyone running this election season. Thanks again for tuning in.